Back in 2014, I had been teaching for a couple years. I was teaching elementary kids at the time, and I realized that a lot of my students were coming to my classroom, especially those who were struggling socially or academically. They were coming into my classroom every day with their nervous system stuck in a fight or flight response. Some of my students were coming to me from some pretty chaotic home lives, had been through some pretty traumatizing situations, or were currently living in just trauma. And so they were coming in and completely just not ready to learn or retain information or make meaningful connections or friendships. When we're stuck in this state, and that goes for anyone, it's very hard for us to connect with ourselves, for others, hard for us to focus. We feel just constantly not great. And so I figured for my students, I um, wanted to help them. Okay, when they came into my classroom, my job was to make sure their basic needs were met, make sure that they were um, feeling regulated and safe so that then they could learn. I could do my job. So I became kind of obsessed with like self regulation techniques, teaching my students how to. Do some breath work, some like sensory activities. We had a peace place in my classroom where they could go and they could do some breathing techniques. I had sensory stuff in there for them to do, and this worked really well. When I taught them ahead of time, I would teach them these things. Um, and during that time, I read every book that I could find about childhood trauma, embodiment. I read parenting books. I read anything I could get my hands on, really, about like regulation, self regulation techniques. So much. So I also during this time became trained in trauma informed care and began training other teachers in that as well. And during this time of learning how to help my students to self regulate during the day or kind of co regulate with me during the day, I learned also on a personal note a lot about myself and how often I was in a state of kind of hypervigilance, hyperarousal that came across as like people pleasing tendencies, codependency, tendencies in relationships, and that some of my behaviors were coping mechanisms for not feeling safe or regulated in my own body. And again, I became very interested in this idea of like self regulation techniques and how our bodies kind of inherently know how to heal and um, how to feel safe and regulated, often with just a little bit of help from us or from a guide. So I have been since then. I basically became my own first coaching client. I tried at that time done some therapy as well. Um, Unfortunately, the therapy that I went to was not very helpful, and so many therapists are amazing and wonderful, and I've had great experiences since then. But I kind of see that as a blessing in disguise now because I really went on this mission to figure out, okay, what's going on? I know my patterns, I know where this is coming from, but how do I change it? And how do I continue to stay in that state of change? How do I make it last? um, and release what's no longer serving me. So it wasn't always pretty, but eventually I found practices and tools, teachers, guides along the way that really helped me move past those unhelpful patterns. And this is why I knew that from the beginning, I wanted to have my coaching practice include grounding practices, breath work, somatic practices, so that my clients actually feel safe in their bodies as they're making decisions, as they're taking action toward where they want to be. So we want to make sure that the things that you want are actually the things that you want, and how to get there actually feels aligned for you and your values and your goals and what you want in your life. Um, And so, what I mean by a somatic practice, an example, I might start our session off with some grounding breath work that we would do together. At the end of a session, I may teach you some tapping or something that you can take with you and do in the mornings or in the evenings or whenever you just feel like you need it. So, here's one example. To feel more focused, if you want to feel more energized and focused, one thing you can do is you can take your fingers, kind of the pads of your uh, first three fingers right here, and you can tap or massage. These are your K27 points, the right under your collarbones, kind of in this little indent toward the middle. So you can tap or massage. And this is something you can do at any time of day. You can also cross and do the opposite side. That can help with our um, cross body movements. So, connecting our hemisphere of our brain to the side of our body. And so that's just one tiny thing you can do. And an example of what I may teach you in our coaching together. If that's sounds like something you'd be interested in, or you're interested in coaching, you can always send me a message. You can email me at info@mariamcneil.com, or you can head to my website and book a discovery call. I look forward to hearing from you.